I always say, what you want most from someone who reads your script is for them to call you after they've read it and say, this script, I think I've waited not just my whole career, but my whole life to read. It is transformative. It's personal. I never need read another script again. You have put Shakespeare and Euripides to shame. That's the thing you want most. But what you want second most is someone very smart who loves you and believes in you to say, I see what you're trying to do here. Here's what I see. Here's what I think you're trying to do. And here are some thoughts that might provoke you to sit down and make it better.
I just said we were supposed to have my favorite needle drop from the Americans, The Games Without Frontiers, which is the end of season 3, right?
Yes.
So who?
If you say so.
That's what I remember. So who chose this? Who was like the musical supervisor, and who chose the?
We had a great musical supervisory team, but the song choices were all collective. Joe Weisberg and I, in the end, it was us, but we had a great team, great creative team from Chris Long, the producing director, to our amazing editing team and post-production team. And it's always such an amazing collaboration. We used a lot of Peter Gabriel on the show.
Yeah.
And I was reflecting, because I was thinking about something else with another wonderful producer here, about how when we use these needle drops, we have this artistic collaboration with these songwriters, but we never talk to them, we never know them. And Peter Gabriel and I exchanged a couple letters, I think right after we used that song. It was really very, very special, and he was incredibly generous.
Well, fortunately for you, it was like you had the best of the 80s.
We did, we did. And as Joe Weisberg and I used to joke, our research for the project basically was remembering our childhood.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Can you tell us a bit about the collaboration between you and Joe Weisberg?
Yes, Joe and I were in an arranged marriage, just like Philip and Elizabeth.
Did you have children too?
We had children, but not each other's. But the first season, between season 1 and season 2, while we worked, our wives took the kids and went on vacation together. So there was that. Our collaboration was, really, again, being fixed up and set up in this show-running marriage by our mutual agent, Joe Cohen, and by John Landgraf and Eric Schreier at FX, who really thought we'd work well together, and boy, were they right. But we just spent every moment together. That was our collaboration. Some co-showrunners divide duties. Our way of working together was to do everything together. We sat and wrote everything together. We were in the editing room always together, on set with the writers, and we found that was incredibly efficient because we would check each other and think together and iterate that way.
It's like you were a married couple doing this amazing TV show, and one of the most compelling aspects of the series was making marriage a battlefield. I want to talk to you about that.
Making marriage?
Like a battlefield.
Oh.
The war at home mirroring the war outside, so to speak.
Fair enough. But maybe not merely a battlefield, but as with international relations, ultimately what it was about with Philip and Elizabeth was really figuring out how to communicate and work through their conflicts with mutual respect. Not easy, but in a lot of ways, Philip and Elizabeth had fewer secrets than any other normal married couple. They didn't really have affairs. They told each other everything. And that meant they had to get to know themselves in order to get to know each other.
Yeah. Although they had like serious issues between them in regard of loyalty, wanting to stay in America versus going back and being very loyal to Mother Russia. I mean, they conflicted over the really big things, not like married couple.
Yeah, I think it's really embodied during the Est episodes, where Philip takes a different approach, a very American approach. He falls in love with the American life, and Elizabeth is very true to her country and her mission.
Yes, even in the first episode, where Philip wants to defect for the family, and he puts family over country, and she puts country over family, and that really is the essence of the show. The struggle of the show is between those two things and between them.
And since the show is so deeply, deals so deeply with questions of loyalty, we were wondering, the both of us, we were very curious to ask you, is it really a show about being Jew in America? Having like a double loyalty, thinking about, you know, your country and another country as well?
Well, unconsciously, I can't tell you what it was about. Consciously, no. That would be the patient. But the question of double loyalty, you know, I think that's something that comes up for Jews in America and for Jews in the diaspora. But I think it's not really a matter of double loyalty. You know, the United States is particularly a special place for Americans in the last generations. It's been a uniquely special place throughout all of Jewish history. And I think part of that is, although it's a struggle there as it is here, the liberal ethos of the United States that's supposed to embrace everyone. But I think, you know, in a way, what you're raising is a question of the difference between maybe conflict and tension. And even for Philip and Elizabeth, what seemed like conflict was really a tension of different ideas that in success, in honesty, in an effort to truly understand, would lead to a balance in a relationship, whether it's a marriage, a family, an individual in a society. So I guess that's the hope. Does that answer the question?
I'm not sure. You know what? Because I just finished watching. I did a rewatch towards our meeting.
So you know the show much better
So I
than
know
I do.
the show.
I'm going to have to take your word for it.
And I penciled. I wrote to
Oh,
myself, chapter 5, season 2, is a meeting between Philip and Elizabeth and Mossad agents.
Yes.
And I think one of the strongest episodes I can remember. And the Mossad agent has something to say to them regarding loyalty. He is like, he knows who he is. He knows what he's doing. And they conflicting between their loyalties. So when I saw that, when I watched that episode, I said to myself, okay, that's it. That's it. Maybe it's unconscious.
Maybe, but that's about knowing oneself, which Philip and Elizabeth were still struggling with at that point. And of course, that character was in a different situation and a different position. Look, the show, you know, you talk about the question of dual loyalty and being Jewish. The show also had a significant Soviet Jewish story, of course, that explored what it was like to be here and then what it was like to be there, which were obviously very different Jewish experiences that we got to show.
Yeah.
Do you think that right now shows can have this longevity to run over 6 seasons? We hardly see that anymore.
Look, it's certainly a different time now. It was a very special time then when we made that show. But I think, yes, I think it's all about the show. And, you know, in the case of a show like that, it ran the number of episodes that it wanted to run.
But if you pitched that today to John Landgraf from FX, who coined the phrase peak TV, which the Americans, of course, is one of the peak TV shows, do you think that right now he could see this going on for 6 seasons?
I think so, yes, actually. I do. Look, it's harder now, but the truth is, it was very hard when we started, and then there was kind of a golden era once we got off our feet. I have no choice but to believe that whatever show comes next will have the right number of episodes and will be the kind of show that it wants to be. I think the market is obviously shifting and changing in ways that we can see, and then that also means there'll be unexpected shifts and changes ahead. But for all of us creators in this room, we're all looking at the same blinking cursor, and we all don't know what's going to be next. So ultimately, whether it's writing or directing or producing a show, it's an act of optimism, and you have to believe that there'll be an audience and that things will work out.
You chose to do The Patient right after the Americans.
Yeah.
Actually, you did.
First Fosse Verdon, I think, right?
A little break for singing and dancing,
Yeah,
yes.
a mini series after
Such a long
six
scale,
seasons, and then like a 1-season show.
Of The Patient, which did you like most?
What did I like most? I love them. I love all my children.
But I was wondering, so it's both Fosse Verdon, because of its length, and The Patient, because of its form, are very different from the Americans. Was it a conscious choice? The Patient, for anyone who didn't see it, it's like almost a two-hander, right?
Yes.
It's Steve Carell and Evan Peters and his mother's voice from above the... yeah.
Also a Jewish TV show, in my perspective.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
very
his
Jewish.
mother's
That's
from
inescapable.
from above the basement. So was this like a conscious decision?
Well, there were conscious elements, and then, of course, the best elements are unconscious, you know, what's happening in your Jungian brain when you write. But look, a big part of that grew out of the practical challenges of COVID. And gee, how can we make a show, and how can we do something that's somewhat contained? And Joe and I were talking about that and struggling for a long time. We had for a long time wanted to do something about therapy, but someone made a show called In Treatment. That was very good and couldn't be replicated. So we were struggling until we found this idea, and there was The Patient.
Can you tell us a little? You want to ask? No? Can you tell us a little bit about your long-term relationship with John Landgraf? And I mean, is the relationship personal, or you go now as a couple with Joe Weisberg?
It's both.
Okay.
Joe and I write and produce together, and we do things individually as well. We're now looking for our next project together and our next projects individually. And look, my relationship with John goes back for a very long time. It's he's a dear, dear friend, my best friend, if not one of my best friends. And he's also the mayor of television. We had the mayor of Jerusalem. He's widely known as the mayor of, John Landgraf's widely known as the mayor of television. I think by now he might be the governor or even the president or king of television. But, you know, the collaboration with him and with the team at FX, with Nick Grad, with Gina Balian, with the team at Disney, Eric Schreier and Dana Walden, it's now gone on so long, and there's so much trust there and open communication there that, you know, you have what every creative person would want, which is someone who you know wants what's best for them and what's best for you, and you want what's best for them and what's best for you, and you can talk openly and supportively and then try to work together to deliver the next show.
What do they bring to the table besides the platform?
John Landgraf is the best dramaturg that I've ever worked with. There maybe there's one or two as good. There's nobody better. And his team is incredible as well. And, you know, those of us who are writers, everybody looks at every other writer and reads their draft. And even if we know, right, unconsciously we feel like their draft, they just sat down and wrote that script. And yet we had to come up with an idea and struggle, and then we wrote a script and it was not good, and we rewrote it 6,000 times. But what we really want is somebody who will give us the kind of insight that helps make our scripts better. I always say, what you want most from someone who reads your script is for them to call you after they've read it and say, I've been doing this a long time, but this script, I think I've waited not just my whole career, but my whole life to read. It is transformative. It's personal. I never need read another script again. You have put Shakespeare and Euripides to shame. That's the thing you want most. But since we live in the real world, tada, what do you want second most? Second most, what you want.
GPT and you will get that
Yes,
response.
yes, exactly. What you want second most is someone very smart who loves you and believes in you to say, I see what you're trying to do here. Here's what I see. Here's what I think you're trying to do. And here are some thoughts that might provoke you to sit down and make it better. And that's what you get from FX and John Landgraf.
You've mentioned COVID earlier, and we
Remember that?
I know. And
We're not wearing masks.
not anymore, for the meantime. But we had war in the Ukraine and Russia, and you had Trump rise in the US. If the Americans was about the aftermath of the Cold War, what would we see in TV in 10, 20 years? Would we see everything going on right now?
I hope so. I hope someone will find a way to explore it. We'll see. Maybe that's up to you guys.
I think maybe it's up to you.
Stay tuned.
I was wondering, how did you manage to write so accurately? And I'm not saying it because of me, because I talked to some Russian friends of mine, and they said that the parts in Russia and the parts in the Russian residency, not the Russian, Soviet, sorry.
Yes,
The
Soviet.
parts in the Soviet Union were so accurate and so into the Soviet state of mind and the Soviet behavioral. So how did you do that? How did you manage to do that?
Thank you. It's a great question. As I said, when Joe and I wrote about the 80s, we were just going from memory. We didn't have to do research to know that Henry would be playing with a handheld football game. We were both jealous of the kid who had that in junior high school. But the Russian stuff was different. And we had a series of incredible technical consultants. The most prominent was Sergei Kostin, who's a Russian novelist and television writer. And he read all our scripts. But more than reading all our scripts and giving us insight, we would reach out to him, we'd call him or we'd email him, and we'd say something like, we want Philip to do to have an experience from his childhood during this era, and we want it to be the equivalent of what an American boy in a small town might have had when he stood and looked into a sweet shop during the Depression. And Sergei would come back and say, I understand what you're saying, and this would be, in that era, it would be going behind the soup kitchen and the chef coming out and giving the pot that had the scrapings in it. So he would give us those specifics, and it was a process of sharing what our emotional intent was, giving often an allegory, and then him coming back. And I'll say one other thing about the Russian. We always had Russian-speaking actors. When we cast them, we would send them to Russian-speaking experts who would tell us whether their accents were correct. So we were really obsessed with trying to be accurate. And the way we wrote the Russian is we wrote what we wanted the subtitles to be. And then we hired a translator and we said, take these subtitles, and we want the Russian language to accurately reflect what spoken Russian would be at the time, that a good translator would then turn into these subtitles.
Like literature. Like
I
don't know, but it was a fun process.
Yeah. So that's how Oleg became one of the most compelling characters on the show. He's my favorite character, I must say.
He's a wonderful guy too.
We know you wanted to say something in Hebrew towards the finish of our conversation. So.
But first, Gili, my mother would kill me if I didn't ask you.
We don't want your mother to kill you.
Yeah, why did you do that to Martha?
I'd say the opposite. First of all, what did we do to Martha? What did we do to Martha? She's got a baby. She's doing well. Where do you think she is today? She's probably, got a nice life. I don't know.
She's living the dream in Moscow.
Yes.
In the late 80s Moscow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I know you wanted to say something about coming here and being here today, and we would be honored if you would.
Well, but now I'm nervous. But I'll try. אני רק רוצה להגיד שאני מאוד מתרגש להיות פה איתכם, ולהיות פה עם עם ישראל, בארץ ישראל, בכל creative community. See? נפלתי. טוב להיות ביחד. תודה. זהו.
Thank you so much.
Israelis are such suckers. You just speak in Hebrew. You can read like the phone book and oh, amazing! Look at his Hebrew.
Okay, you really want me to go for an applause line?
Yeah.
אחותי שמה. ישראלית.
I hope she's taking a picture.
Joe, thank you so much, and we do hope that you'll find your next project here.
I would love that. Let's do it and let's continue the conversation. It's very special to be here.
And thank you for all the great TV that you've done all over the years. We're such huge fans,
Yes.
of all your shows. And
Waiting for your next project.
yeah,
תודה.
בעזרת השם.
thank you so much.